Hello there. There is no reason to cancel the protest, says the Met Police Chief. But we will put thousands more police on duty and place a ring of steel around the Cenotaph. With rumours aswirl that Rishi Sunak is considering the position of his Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, very seriously, we now hear that the Met Police Chief Sir Mark Rowley, who, after saying there wasn't enough evidence of any forthcoming problems to cause him to want to shut down the pro-Palestine marches tomorrow, nor could he legally do so anyway, but he has now put in train the resources to place a ring of steel around this weekend's remembrance events, reports the Mail. It seems then that there is enough credible intelligence out there to warrant cancelling police leave, extending the overtime budget and drafting in an extra 1,000 police officers from around the country to protect London this weekend. And senior public order officers are set to give orders to immediately clamp down on any criminality or violence, says the report. A bit of zero tolerance then. While Rowley said that locations and events of national importance would be protected at all costs. Except the cost of stopping the protest marches completely, of course. Sir Mark Rowley said, "The laws created by Parliament are clear. There is no absolute power to ban protest. Therefore, there will be a protest this weekend." A bit more on that one in a moment. Now I'll ask you, the viewer, if someone had decided to put on a serious counter-protest tomorrow, a huge pro-Israeli protest for example, do you think the police would not be able to stop it? Or would they stop both protests, or just one of the protests? And if just one of them, which one? The police have already warned those turning up in London tomorrow for Armistice Day to ensure they do not clash with the pro-Palestine protests. I personally think that if such a counter-event was planned, the police would suddenly find all sorts of powers to ensure that the counter-protest did not take place. Anyway, let's all hope that remembrance events can continue undisturbed as per normal, and also that our monuments remain undesecrated. And also, should anyone be minded to upset the apple cart, that the police has the will, the determination and the assets in place to quickly deal with it. But what also gets me is that it has taken this standoff for the police to start talking about a sort of zero tolerance to crime. Normally they are more likely to ignore it or kneel before it. And this could backfire after the amount of leeway these protesters have been given in the past. Any increased police action against them will of course be labelled as state-sanctioned violence. And they will play not just the race card, but the victim card too. You can already hear the claims of Zionist-backed police, can't you? The mobile devices will be out in strength, with carefully selected clips being beamed about the world claiming police brutality. Now, the organisers of the pro-Palestine protest marches have claimed they will ensure their charges stay away from any remembrance activity. And as I understand it, they are not due to start until well after any remembrance event has ended anyway. Let's hope they are able to do this and contain any of the more hot-headed amongst them. However, there is another group, apart from veterans and pro-Palestine protesters that is, who are also attending London tomorrow. This group, led by a very well-known name, will remain peaceful and just be there to observe remembrance. But some among them won't tolerate any bother should it occur. And that is the group that will, I think, be the one that the most police attention is focused on. One hint of any trouble from them will probably attract mass arrests and dispersal orders. Then we'd see firsthand the power that the Met does have to contain protest. Now, I've just taken a look at a website called libertyhumanrights.org.uk. And as you can imagine, this is dedicated to things like the right to protest, and it contains guidance on what protesters can and cannot do under the law, as well as what the police can do to ban or control a protest. It even covers one-person protests too, like those that stand in the wrong place, where the police read their minds and see they are praying. You know, that sort of thing. Anyway, here's an extract from that website for you to mull over. Can the police ban my protest? Yes, this is also called prohibiting a protest. Sounds pretty straightforward to me. Now, what was it that the Met Chief Sir Mark Rowley said, especially about stopping stationary protests? Stationary protests. A commissioner or chief constable can prohibit stationary protests within a 5-mile radius for up to 4 days. The Home Secretary must agree. The commissioner or chief constable must reasonably believe that a planned protest is likely to be trespassing, which means being on land without permission or with limited public access, and may cause either serious disruption to the life of the community or significant damage to important land, buildings or monuments. Now that sounds to me like the Met Police Chief doesn't think there will be any significant trespass, community disruption or damage to things like our monuments. Because if he thought there would be, he'd have been pushing at an open door with the Home Secretary Suella Braverman if he did want the protest banned. Or more to the point, if his boss, the London Mayor, Sadiq Khan, wanted the protest banned. And I point out that the website says may cause disruption or damage. Now, I will also point out that I'm quoting from a website, but I'm assuming they will have taken some form of legal advice before publishing such content. Now, there is another worrying angle to all of this. Maybe the Met Police fear that if they did ban the pro-Palestine protest, then things might really kick off. It might end up with even more people turning up in London, but also geared up for a confrontation with the police. Maybe the police is gambling on allowing tomorrow's protest to act as some sort of safety valve, and that it will generally pass off as peaceful, or at least something they can claim was mostly peaceful. Now, according to the aforementioned website, a chief constable with the Home Secretary's agreement can ban protest marches in a specific area for up to 3 months. Now, a lot of people are concerned that the law is already too tight on protests and that the establishment is trying to ratchet it down at every turn with new laws. But if that is so, then why aren't these protests not already locked out? Doesn't that prove that people's rights are safe? However, if things did get out of hand this weekend, then there would be clarion calls for even harsher rules on protest, wouldn't there? And this government would be more than happy to oblige. Then try your anti-net zero, anti-ULEZ, anti-15-minute neighbourhood and anti-WHO health emergency treaty protests. Food for thought, eh?